Manchester United to sign 4 players in 4 key positions this summer. Casemiro exit looking extremely likely. And will Manchester United break the budget and sign Ivan Toney? These are some of the topics we will be discussing on the show this evening. But before we jump into that, please smash a like on today's video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight on into it. Now, as always, as I always do on this show, I want to start with some positivity, and that is about Kobbie Mainoo. Kobbie Mainoo is set to make his full England debut against Belgium tonight in an international friendly. Obviously, he played a couple of minutes in the game against Brazil at Wembley. I think he played about 20 minutes coming off the bench. But tonight will be his first ever start for England. I mean, that is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like, he has been our shining player this season. I honestly think that he is good enough to be part of that team for the next 10, 15 years, the Man United team. I think we've solved quite a few of our midfield problems with the development of Kobbie Mainoo. There's still a lot of problems that do need to be solved, don't get me wrong, but I think Kobbie Mainoo is literally going to be a mainstay of this team. And for him to already be in the England squad that quickly, he got promoted to the under-21s last week. He went to go into training for the under-21s and they said, you're going to be training with the first team. And now he's starting for England. I know people will say it's just a friendly. Does it really mean anything? Of course it means something. He's playing for his country at the age of 18 in the midfield. That is incredibly hard. And I rate him. I really, really do. And you know what? I don't really have that much interest in international football. Obviously, I'm English. I support England, but I don't really care. But tonight, I will be watching the game. I want to see Kobbie Mainoo play against Belgium tonight. I'm going to watch it. So obviously, if you guys got nothing else to do, I would suggest you also watch the game tonight. England versus Belgium friendly. I think it's a 7:45 kickoff here in the UK. But yeah, big ups to Kobbie Mainoo. So that's our positive story to start the show, as we always do here on Daily Red Devil. Moving on to the next story, let's talk a little bit about Ivan Toney. So there's been lots of people speaking about Toney over the last kind of 24 to 48 hours. We know that Ivan Toney will be leaving Brentford this summer. We know that obviously, Arsenal are interested in him. And Fabrizio Romano came out last night saying that apparently Ivan Toney has emerged as a summer target for Manchester United. Now, as always, I wanted to get you guys' opinions on this. What do you think about Ivan Toney? Obviously, he's been banned from football, or was it for 9 months? Something like that, for gambling charges. He's gone through his ban. He's now back playing. He's back in the Premier League playing for Brentford. 28 years of age. The type of money we're talking about, it's going to be about 70, 80 million pounds. It's big, big money. It's not, it's not going to be a free agent or a small transfer. It's going to be at that very, very top end of what you'd pay for a striker. Last season, he got 20 goals and 4 assists in 33 games in the Premier League, which is a good return. I think that's decent. I'm happy with that. And then if you go to the season before, he only got 12 goals, which is kind of poor, to be honest. And the season before that, he got 31 goals in the Championship, which is obviously a lot lower level than the Premier League. Now, do I want Ivan Toney at Manchester United? If it was a free agent, I would say, yeah, great, go and get him. But I don't know. There's something about it that just doesn't really fill me with much excitement. I feel like it's the kind of signing that the Glazers would have made before Ineos came in, if that makes sense. It's an obvious signing. It's not really going to take much intelligence to do that signing. It's a Premier League player at a lesser club who wants to leave. Like, it's not hard to scout Ivan Toney. And if you compared him to someone like Ollie Watkins, who I think some people in the fan base would laugh at me for saying this, like, Ollie Watkins' stats are arguably, well, they are better than Ivan Toney's. Like, same age. I don't know. So there's all these other names that if you want to go down the obvious route of Ivan Toney, then why are you not looking at Ollie Watkins? Why are you not looking at some other people playing in the Premier League? There's maybe 3 or 4 people in the Premier League who are kind of all in that same bracket. They're all going to cost you 60, 70, 80 million pounds probably. And for me personally, I don't think that's what Manchester United should be doing. I think we should be looking for a younger profile, somebody who will be here again, like for the next 10 years, somebody who can compete with Rasmus Højlund. Maybe that's someone like Benjamin Sesko. I'm not saying I want him, but just as an example, someone like Benjamin Sesko could be interesting. Somebody like Santiago Jimenez from Feyenoord's another option that could be really interesting. These types of signings will cost you around 30, 40 million, which is an absolute smidge on, the 70, 80 millions. And the key thing with these players is they are banging goals in their leagues. Yes, they're lesser leagues. Santiago Jimenez has got 21 goals and 4 assists in 25 matches this season in the Eredivisie, as well as 2 goals and 1 assist in the Champions League. So he's had an incredible season. He's available for around 40 million euros with only 2 years left of his contract. Like, why are we not looking at deals like this? That's what I would personally like to see Manchester United doing. I think it would be way more interesting and way more exciting than us just going signing somebody in the Premier League who everybody already knows about. So that's my personal take on it. But obviously, I want you guys to let me know in the comments section, who should we sign in the striker position this summer? Let me know. I always like to see what you guys have to say, because this will now bridge nicely on to the next part of the show. So there's a story that's come out this evening from Sam Pilger, who writes for The Athletic, Forbes, lots of different places, very reliable journalist. And he's reporting that Manchester United will look to sign 4 key players this summer. Those 4 key positions are a left back. We all agree on that, don't we? Luke Shaw's injury prone. Malacia has disappeared off the face of the earth. A centre back. We all agree on that. Obviously, Johnny Evans is going to leave. Harry Maguire should be sold. Lindelof should maybe be sold. Varane will probably go. Like, the centre back position has been a problem at United for years. So definitely a centre back is required. A defensive midfielder as well, he's put on his list, which I agree with. We desperately need a defensive midfielder. As good as Casemiro has been over his career, I think at the very, very top level, I don't think he's probably good enough to be playing week in, week out, personally. And he is starting to pick up quite a lot of injuries now. He's 32, so I can see why a defensive midfielder is top of the list. And then also a striker. So those are the 4 positions that we're apparently going to be focusing on this summer. Now, I'll repeat that again. A left back, a centre back, a CDM and a striker. I agree with all of that. I don't think there's any positions there that we're missing, to be honest. I think those are the priority positions. So feeding on nicely from that, the same journalist is reporting that now it looks highly likely that Casemiro will leave Manchester United this summer. Obviously, we know that Saudi Arabia is circling for his signature. He nearly went in January. I think this is the correct decision, personally. I think Casemiro, I'm so happy that I got to see Casemiro play for Manchester United. I think that's a very special thing to have a player of his calibre at the club that we love. But he's 32. He's on 350 grand a week, and he's now starting to pick up a lot of injuries. And I just don't think he's the same player that he was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, personally. So for me, if we can move Casemiro on, maybe we get 40 million, 50 million, sell him to a Saudi club. We clear all of the wages off our books, and then we go and reinvest that in a young, exciting CDM to play in that position. I think that would be great. One of the names that we're linked to heavily today is João Gomes from Wolves, 23 years of age. Obviously, he's in the Brazilian national team. He played against England in the friendly at Wembley. Really, really good player. Somebody who I would really like to see at Manchester United. He's available for apparently around £40 million. I think he'd be a good deal. I do. I think it would be interesting. Obviously, a lot of people in the fan base want João Neves from Benfica. I think, again, that would be an incredible signing. But for the type of money that they're going to want, it's maybe not going to be possible this summer. He's got a release clause of over £100 million. Only 19 years of age. But the way you have to look at that is if you have João Neves and Kobe Mainoo, that's your midfield for the next 10 years. You're sorted. You never have to swap one of them out. So I can see where the logic is there, but I'm not entirely sure whether Man United will be able to buy £100 million players this transfer window, because obviously it massively depends on whether we get Champions League football. And being sat here right now, I would say it's probably 50-50 whether we get Champions League football. Obviously, we only need to get 5th place. I think we're 6 points off Wolves at the moment. So yeah, I think it's going to be difficult. I do, but stranger things have happened in football. If we win our next Premier League game and, we go into the Liverpool game and we're maybe 3 points behind Tottenham or Aston Villa, anything can happen then, and we'll have to just wait and see, won't we? But for me personally, at the moment, I honestly think it's 50-50 whether we get Champions League football next season. But what I will say is this: it's essential we get Champions League football. Yeah, so we're currently 9 points off Aston Villa, but they've played one more game than us. So if we win our game in hand, we would be 6 points behind them, and we are currently 6 points behind Tottenham as well. So it's tight. If one of those teams lose their next game and we win, we'd only be 3 points behind them, which can easily, be caught up with still 10 games of football left to play. So we've got to stay positive. We've got to get behind the manager, get behind the players. But at the same time, you can't be deluded. So I think saying 50-50, on Champions League football is probably about right. But that's obviously just my opinion. You can let me know in the comment section below. Will Manchester United get Champions League football? The next story we've got for you is about Erik ten Hag. So the same journalist, Sam Pilger, again writes for The Athletic, is reporting that Erik ten Hag's future at Manchester United will depend on results between now and the end of the season. I mean, that's pretty obvious. It says also, along with the long-term planning, it says the poor list of manager options currently available may also be a factor in the decision. I mean, I kind of agree with that. Like, at the moment, there isn't that many good managers available, if you actually think about it. People say Nagelsmann, he's coaching Germany. There are managers out there, but they do currently have jobs. And the really important thing here is that you have to remember is, say Manchester United appoint Nagelsmann, say, just as an example, he's not going to be able to start until after the Euros, which will be, I think, in mid-June. Like, we need somebody in earlier than that. If Erik ten Hag was to go, my preference is Erik ten Hag stays, regardless of whether we get Champions League football, regardless what happens in the last 10 games. I want Erik ten Hag to stay because I think he deserves to get a chance with one more year, with the proper team behind him, with all of his players back and another transfer window. That's my take. So even if we lost the next 10 games in a row, I know this sounds a bit crazy, but I would still be behind him because the way I look at it, there's no one out there who, at the moment, who's available who's better than him. It's people like Gareth Southgate, Roberto De Zerbi, those types of names. And none of those excite me any more than Erik ten Hag. The only one that kind of excited me was Zinedine Zidane, but he's never going to come. So we get rid of Erik ten Hag and you bring in Gareth Southgate in July. Like, that isn't good. No matter whether we win the next 10 games or not. Like, that's not good for me anyway. You might disagree. We've just got to get behind the players and we've got to hope that Erik ten Hag turns it around. And the final story we've got for you this evening, there was a lot of fear yesterday in the fan base that apparently Man United could be banned from Europe. Now, the reason for this is because the current UEFA rules state that one owner can't have two clubs in the same European competition. Now, obviously, as it stands, Manchester United will be in the Europa League. And as it stands, Nice will be in the Europa League. Both clubs are owned by, of course, Ineos in some capacity. So there's been a lot of fear in the fan base that what happens if Man United qualify for the Europa and so do Nice. But apparently UEFA have come out and said the following. It says Manchester United have received assurances from UEFA that they will be allowed to take part in the Europa League next season if Nice also qualify, despite the European governing body restriction on multi-club ownership. So that's fine. That's good. But still, for me, the aim still has to be Champions League. We still have to hope that we go and beat Brentford on the weekend and we get Champions League football and we're not in the Europa League. But at least we know, worst comes to worst, we will be able to be in the Europa League. Obviously, we've still got to qualify and all the rest of it, but it would be pretty devastating, wouldn't it, if we were banned from it because Nice were in there as well. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I hope everyone has enjoyed tonight's video. If you have enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe. It doesn't cost you any money. It's completely free. Get involved in the channel. This has been Daily Red Devil. I'll be back live tomorrow at 11 a.m. UK time. Have a great evening, everybody, and I'll speak to you all a bit later.